I'm going to start off by sharing my screen. So welcome and thank you for joining our transfer session. Today we're going to talk about everything transfer from the American Indian College Fund. So once again, good morning. My name is Nicolette Weston. I am Oglala Lakota, and I am the Transfer and Program Administrator here at the American Indian College Funds. And I will be joined by my colleague, Deborah. So Deborah, if you want to give a introduction.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Looks like we've still got others joining in at this time. Glad to be here. I'm Dr. Deborah Wheeler. I am the Program Officer for the Montana Transfer Pathways Program, and it's a great pleasure to be meeting with you to talk all things transfer.
Awesome. Thank you, Deborah. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So today, once again, welcome. Today, our agenda is going to cover how we can support you as a transfer student and the collaborative work we are doing to support transfer students. So the Tribal College Transfer Student Support Goals here, we would like to provide efficiencies, transparency, and certainty for transfer students. If you can just pop in the chat, we would like to hear from you as far as Tribal College Transfer. Where do you see yourself at in this transfer timeline? Are you a first-year student? Are you on year 2 of getting ready to graduate and you're planning on transferring? Or are you a high school student wanting to learn more about what Tribal College Transfer is or what college transfer is in general? We would also like to share that you have a tribal college near you. A lot of tribal colleges are located near our reservation-based high schools. So another thing we'd like to share out is that you can still look into transferring to like a mainstream university if that is your ultimate goal after you graduate from your tribal college with an associate's degree. Or there are others too who go off to a mainstream and they're looking to transfer back into their tribal college to, be more closer to home. And some of those benefits of attending tribal colleges before transferring is, of course, your debt. It's a lot more affordable to attend your tribal college at home. And you're also getting a lot of the tribal colleges, there are 35 that are accredited. And it's just like going to a mainstream university. So we are accredited tribal colleges, and you're able to get the same education as you would a mainstream. Of course, you're going to be near your community, your family, and there's a lot of cultural aspects to go into a tribal college. You learn more about who you are, where your ancestors came from, more of that cultural identity piece that really helps prepare you academically and when you go out into mainstream. And for me, I'm a tribal college graduate, so it really helped build me to become that Lakota person first, and then getting my degree after. How we plan on accomplishing this goal of providing these supports. Deborah, if you want to go ahead and go over your the first 4 with everybody, and then I'll do the next 3.
Yes, absolutely. And I just wanted to remind everyone there is a chat area if you would like to chat with us during the presentation. Please feel free to use that. And if you need a larger screen, you can also move the chat out of the way. There's an arrow where you can move that over to the side. And I see that we've got, it looks like a couple of students and a couple of staff in here joining us. So welcome. I think this presentation will certainly apply to all stakeholders. If you are faculty, staff, student, all of this information I think is helpful as you are either a transfer student or are supporting transfer students. So I'm glad to have you here in the session. And Brandy, you said you're here from Tohono O'odham. That's wonderful. Fantastic. And glad you could join the session. Leal, you said you're almost done with your associate and getting ready to transfer. So it looks like we've got some who are learning about college, learning about the transfer process, and maybe a little bit about some of the work that's being done in this transfer landscape. So as Nicolette said, we're very interested in how we can support students. That is our main focus. And we do have very focused areas that we would like to support. And those are many efforts that Nicolette and I are working on collaboratively at the College Fund and with other departments there. So one of the things that I've been working on in the Montana Transfer Pathways program is to identify stackable credentials, to identify transfer pathways and degree pathways. And what does that mean? That means if you are interested in completing a degree, that you know where that goes next. How do you stair step your way to those higher degrees? So maybe you're interested in getting a 1-year credential, and then you can move that 1-year credential into a 2-year associate degree. And then you can move that 2-year associate into a bachelor's degree. And that stair stepping process is a path that you can follow, maybe even to a graduate degree at the master's or doctoral level. Those are all pathways that you can follow. So in Montana in particular, we were looking at how do we start out from 1 year all the way through to a graduate degree, and allowing people to step on and off that path. Maybe you get your 1-year credential and that allows you to go to work right away. Then you want to come back and do some more schooling, and you choose your associate degree. And then that allows you to get new opportunities and grow and develop in that area. So those stackable credentials, those clear pathways are designed for the most flexibility, but to maximize how you move through the transfer process. So if you're a new student and choose to go on, how do you do that? Who do you talk to? How does that process work? So we've been doing a lot of effort, particularly in Montana, on articulation agreements, those really defined articulation agreements where you might do 1 year of college and then go on for another year. Or you might do 2 years at an associate and then you'd go on for 2 more for your bachelor's. And so we've really worked hard. And the reason we focused on Montana first and foremost is that is the state with the largest number of tribal colleges. So there are 7 tribal colleges in Montana, and we're hoping that we're identifying some areas that will then become a model in other states at other TCUs. So these pathways, these stackable credentials, and these agreements are all formalized way to support students on their path, on their selected path, and from education all the way through to successful employment and even returning for additional education. So these agreements, we were able to successfully complete 14 new articulation agreements last year in Montana. And those in particular were in early childhood education and social work. So if you're interested in early childhood and education or social work, those pathways are really clearly defined as that stair-step process, a path that you can step on and off as you move through the process as a transfer student. So we have a lot of opportunities that we're developing, a lot of extra efforts to make sure that those agreements are known. If a student starts and wants to go on, we want all those credits from one credential or degree to move to the next one. We don't want students losing time or money or energy or motivation as they move from transfer to transfer. And that does happen. Unfortunately, the statistics show that about 40% of those who transfer will lose about 40% of their credits. And we do not want that. We want that to be a smooth process moving all the way through each of the educational levels. So we don't want any loss of steam and energy as you're moving from one level to the next. And so efforts have been made to really make that more transparent and clear. And those agreements are in place to help students so that they can know what to expect and know how to keep that process going. Once you're on that education path, yes, your goal is to get into your career, but that might be a process over a long period of time. So however we can help with that is the focus. And like I said, in Montana, we've got some initial efforts there. I hope that those also get expanded elsewhere. Nicolette, I'll return it to you.
Awesome. Thank you for that information, Deborah. And then the other three goals we are looking to accomplish are the transfer resources, which I'm going to go over in another slide after, so we have it kind of segued out, and then also a transfer student experience course, which we are also working on. And I'll cover more of that in another slide that's coming, and then also transfer coordinators. Deborah, do you want to share the types of transfer students?
Yes, so I've been doing some extensive literature review and research on this, trying to develop as a transfer expert. And what I've discovered, particularly in the Montana Transfer Pathways program, is that there are many, many, many different types of transfer students. You might be coming in to start your credential, 1-year certificate, or start your associate degree, and you are thinking about going on. You enter in with the intention to transfer somewhere else. That's one type. You're coming in, starting new, transferring somewhere else. The process of transferring out, that next step where you're being received by the next college or university, is also a factor. So as you are coming into a university or college, there's processes that take place there. Your transcripts get reviewed. We're looking for those credits moving from one institution to the next. But transferring out is also a process in itself too, because you want to then be set and comfortable in that receiving institution. So the literature and reviews that I've done really identify a couple of areas where this is already tracked, and there's some processes in place for that, although more needs to be done. There are about 8 different types of transfer students: in, out, vertical, horizontal, swirling, all different ways you can come in and out of institutions. So as you start college, if you already know you want to go on for higher degrees, that's how you want to set your path. If you're not sure and you identify that at graduation, how much more schooling you want to do, then that's another transfer out process. We want to be able to kind of move you smoothly from one place to the next and make sure that that goes well in the entire process. So we're thinking about those different needs depending on the level and type of student, and that makes it unique to each of those variations, right? If you're a first generation, first time student, very different needs in the transfer space than somebody maybe who has a bachelor's and is going on to a master's, maybe a little more experienced in how to play the game and knows a little bit more about that. In all cases, we want that to go smoothly. Back to you, Nicolette.
Awesome. Thank you, Deborah. And then the next slide is just talking more about the Montana transfer pathways.
Great. So I mentioned that we accomplished the 14 articulation agreements. Again, those are the formalized agreements between the 7 tribal colleges. So how they allow students to move in between, how they can move in and out of those pathways. And that allows individuals to remain within the tribal colleges if they choose, as opposed to an agreement that's with a mainstream university. Many colleges already have articulation agreements that let you transfer smoothly to a mainstream, but not always within the tribal colleges. So to allow more choice for those who want to remain at a tribal college as they advance their education, these agreements are formalized ways that we accept credit. So most of them in the Montana areas are what we call 2+2s. And that means you complete 2 years and then you transfer that full associate into another 2 years to get your bachelor. So I know one of you here on the call is working on that right now, getting ready to move on to the next level. And those agreements help you do that. So if you're not familiar with what agreements already exist for you between the college you're at and the one you want to go to, ask. That's very important to ask what those agreements are, and ask that early. As soon as you know you want to transfer somewhere else, making sure you ask and talk about those, find out what those agreements are. Sometimes they're on the college websites and sometimes they are not. And you have to go ask about them either from your current institution or from the receiving where you're planning to go. And knowing what those agreements are really helps streamline that process, help you avoid paying for classes. You don't want to pay for any extra courses that you don't need. You don't want to have to repeat things. And so those agreements really clearly detail what's accepted where. And so in Montana, we've really identified a lot of inner reciprocity that make sure that we can keep those credits where they are. So 2+2 allows someone with an associate degree completed to transfer that in whole, in its entirety, into start as a junior working on their bachelor's. So anytime you can find out if there are existing agreements, that's the best way to do that. Plan ahead, know where you want to go, and look for those agreements. So we have 14 new ones, most of those, the 2+2 model, and some places have 1+1s or 3+1s, different number of years that you're transferring. And then one of the agreements that we accomplished was for the a system-wide agreement where we had a language agreement. Everyone agreed to accept each other's language courses, so that if you took, Cree here, it would transfer over for Salish. It would just be interchangeable. So we had a lot of success in looking at that as well, and more to come. Again, I hope it's a model. We're developing a model in Montana for what can be used elsewhere.
And then if you just want to touch base on the increasing transfer supports that.
Yes. So our goal is, as we mentioned, to have transparency, predictability, support for all transfer students, regardless of what level they're at in their education, and making sure we work collaboratively at the College Fund. So we have many initiatives that are happening. I'm working closely with Nicolette in the Student Success Department and working with others to define what are the best supports we can put together. So there is a new transfer advisory committee that Nicolette is running. I'm co-leading, and that transfer advisory committee is going to be working on a transfer course, because we want everyone to know, how does this work? How do you become a transfer student? How do you do that successfully without losing, as I mentioned, time or money or energy? And then we also have upcoming professional development opportunities. There's a transfer data meeting specifically for institutional research professionals, for IT, for those who touch transfer data. That will be at Turtle Mountain Community College on July 10th. So we're going to figure out how we're going to track all of that new transfer data within the Montana transfer landscape, and other trainings coming as well. And then we've got a new transfer website where we'll be housing resources and supports for all stakeholders. So if you're a student, if you're a family member, community member, faculty, staff, leaders, there'll be information there for you, for each person. And then we've got some funding coming from other areas to support a transfer coordinator. And I think Nicolette's going to talk more about some of these collaborative initiatives as well.
Yes, I will. So I think this next slide was the literature review talking about transfers.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, so I mentioned I've completed an extensive literature review very specifically on the Montana transfer landscape. And my big conclusion from all of the research is we need to talk about transfers. We need to talk about transfers at every opportunity. If you are a faculty or a staff member, some of you on this call are staff members who support transfer students, we need to bring it up in meetings. We talk a lot about graduate completions. Transfers are a part of that success. We want to talk about how to be a successful transfer with students, starting early with those conversations. I'm asking everyone in the Montana at the Montana TCUs to develop their new student orientation, to talk with transfer students, identify them from day one, and support them on their transferring in or out of your TCU. So we have a lot of literature that says transfer supports can happen in the classroom. If you're a faculty member on this call, you can talk about transfers in the classroom. If you're a staff member, you can bring it up in meetings. If you're a manager or leader, you can make sure you're thinking about transfers in the policies and procedures. If you're a student, you need to educate yourself on how the transfer process works and if there are any agreements. So the conclusion is we need to talk about it everywhere because it is a part of graduation. And there's a lot of ways we can support that, connecting with other peers, role models, having more engagement at every step of the process. So we like to think of go to college and have graduation, but there's a lot of steps that happen in between there. So thinking about what we can do at each level is a big takeaway of the literature review. Where can we talk about transfers more than we have been?
Awesome. Thank you so much for all of that information, Deborah. So Deborah touched base on a lot of the work that she is doing, and this connects to how we are supporting our tribal colleges and universities with transfer. One of the ways that we are doing this is we do have a transfer mini grant, a sub grant. It is $2,000 and it opens July 1st. And so that, information, of course, you would get in contact with me and my contact information will be at the end of this presentation. But these are ways that you can support transfer at your tribal college if you are faculty or staff member, is that you apply for this funding and you utilize it in any way you can, is what I tell the TCUs, is that as long as it is supporting that student or a particular group of students with their transfer process, that is support. That is how you would support that student. That is how you would utilize our funding, whether it's, maybe doing collaborative work in developing an agreement with a mainstream. Some of that funding can be utilized there too as well. But ultimately, we really want to create these supports for tribal colleges to build up their capacity in that transfer area. And then we also have strategic enrollment management with my colleagues who are also working with tribal colleges. And this is where transfer comes into play too, is that transfer is a part of that strategic enrollment management space as well. And I think a lot of times, I remember even when I was in tribal college, I had no idea there was, what transfer was. So I think the more we talk about it, like Deborah said, the more that it becomes, something that's also a part of our processes at tribal colleges. As students, of course, we would advocate for ourselves and ask, this is what my degree plan looks like. I would also like to move on to getting my bachelor's degree. How can I do that? And developing that plan with your counselor. Or if you're at a tribal college and you want to get your master's degree, and let's say your tribal college offers bachelor's degrees, and this would still take place in that area, you would still make sure you're advocating for yourself and talking to your counselor or your advisors ahead of time. That way what degree path you're on, how your pathway looks, and you're also setting yourself, up for all the supports, challenges that may come about, how you plan to overcome those challenges, things like that. That all takes place with strategic enrollment management and also advocating for yourself. Surveys. We had sent out a survey to our Montana TCUs where we got back, we received some feedback in their transfer spaces there. We also have a student survey, and that will be in a slide coming up, where we are asking students for feedback on their transfer experience, or if they're preparing for transfer, how is that looking for them right now? And as Deborah talked about, we do have a transfer advisory committee that we have created. This advisory committee's goal is to create a transfer student experience course. This is specifically for our Indigenous students, because when we look up research, when we look up supports for transfer, there's nothing specific, that shows what it's like for an Indigenous student to transfer from either tribal college to a mainstream, or from mainstream back into tribal college. And we really want to create that resource for students on, this is something realistic. These are realistic challenges that our students are facing in the mainstreams. And we want to have, this resource available so that students can see that, this is something real. This is something that, I don't feel like, a non-native person is going through. How do I help support myself? So this is basically the goal of the Transfer Advisory Committee right now. And this advisory committee is made up of TCU faculty. And we do have, I think, 2 transfer students who have actually transferred into a mainstream, or they already graduated from after transferring. So we are pulling together and trying to get the different perspectives of everybody on board that's going to help support our Indigenous students in college transfer. Once again, professional development opportunities. With everything that Deborah has worked on and the things that she has developed, we are also sharing this back out to our tribal colleges, and helping to do professional development opportunities on transfer. Once again, prior to this, I don't think we had a big enough space where tribal colleges can go to, and we really want to create that space for everybody and share that back and give that back. And the transfer website is another way that we would be given back everything that we are working on. Okay, so now what do we do with all of this information that we are learning? What are we doing with all of this, these resources that we are creating? So the College Fund is developing a website specifically for transfer. And we just want this to be the main hub where tribal colleges, where students, community can come to access that website. And you guys have all the resources you can, as we are developing them, we're giving them back to you. You have access to those resources, events, webinars, professional development, everything that has to do with tribal college transfer, or transfer in general, that our students, our Indigenous students, have a space for that. You have a space to come and access that. And we are looking to hopefully launch this website by the school year in the fall. So this fall, come August, we will make sure that we are getting all of that information out to our TCUs, and we hope that you are able to share that with everybody else too. And if you know someone wanting to transfer, you can say like, hey, I know a place where we can go to access these resources that can help us learn more about transfer. And that would be at the College Fund website once that is launched. Deborah, you can go ahead and talk about next steps.
Yes, so we talked about all the amazing things that are in process or that we've accomplished within the Montana transfer pathways. Now there's more work to be done. So next steps are the student survey. We completed a faculty and staff transfer survey. The information will be shared out, lessons learned and next steps identified from that survey. And we're hoping all students will participate in the future transfer survey that we're launching today. I'm asking all faculty and staff on this call to check and see if your new student orientation includes identification and discussions with transfer students, either those transferring in or those who know they are planning to complete with you and transfer out, to identify them, support with them. We are hoping to also make sure that those appear on websites wherever possible. If you have an articulation agreement completed, please make sure it's visible to students. It doesn't do anyone any favors if it's not found or understood. So please check that as well. We're going to be promoting the articulation agreements within the Montana TCUs. If you're here from a Montana TCU, there's a marketing media kit that I put together, has a sample Facebook post for students. It has an email for faculty, just some logos that you can share with your partnering institutions. And we want to promote those. So any TCU anywhere can make sure that those are visible and available to everyone. And more communication with all the stakeholders. So reaching out to students. I recently completed a faculty professional development on transfer for faculty members, and reaching out to campus presidents to talk about these issues. All of the involved stakeholders have a role to play in transfer. So developing plans to continue outreach in those areas. And again, bringing it back to our main focus, which is to support transfer students. So for those of you who are thinking about going to college or have your plans in place to attend a college, this is the time to be thinking about that, to be thinking about how do you successfully enter in as a new student and potentially exit out with your degree to move to the next degree. So some of you are still thinking about college, and my biggest piece of advice for new career in education students is to talk to individuals, talk to counselors, talk to advisors, talk to your admissions, let them know that you would like to go on for additional degrees, that you would like to stay on that path to advancement. And every degree that you get opens a new set of doors. So as you advance along the path, returning or moving to the next degree, you're providing yourself with more and more opportunities at each level. So having communication early on. Communication's a big piece of any endeavor, any initiative. So getting ready for college, or for some of you who are completing associates, getting ready to move on to bachelor's, communication, to talk with those advisors, ask about those agreements, make your path as smooth as you can. Nicolette said one of the key words, which is advocate for yourself and find people who can advocate for you. Everyone wants to see you succeed in your educational career. So find those individuals who can help you get the information you need, champion you. And for you that are faculty and staff supporting them, ask regularly how that's going and support those. So we have a lot of work still to do, but a lot has been accomplished, and I'm hoping you'll carry that forward in each of your own ways.
Awesome. Thank you, Deborah, for sharing the next steps. So next steps for students on the call, how can you contribute to this work, and how can you, also be somebody that's in this space helping us to create these resources? This is one way right here is our student survey. We are just launching the survey now today with our transfer panel, or our transfer session. So you can scan that QR code right there and take the survey, and your feedback is super valuable because we want to hear from you, definitely, because this helps us when creating this transfer student experience course. We want to make sure that we are taking in the student voice as well. So whether you're preparing to transfer, you're just thinking about transferring, or you're in the process of transferring, or let's say you're in college right now and it's on your minds, or maybe you took the first steps already, or maybe you already transferred. You are a transfer student that has already transferred, graduated, are looking to graduate. Please scan the QR code, because all of the feedback that we get, we are going to be looking through all of the student survey data, and this is going to help create a transfer student experience course. So you can say in the future, hey, I helped create this course because I took that survey. So we really want you to know that your voice is valuable, and we do want to hear from you and get feedback from you. And this helps us to develop resources for future students, our students, looking to transfer in the future. So you can also contribute to this transfer work as well. How are some other ways you can stay connected and learn more about transfer? Well, you can connect with us. We are on all social media outlets. So we are on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. You can also go to collegefund.org and sign up for our newsletter. Through our newsletter, you'll always get updates on all the events that we host here at the College Fund. All of the different webinars or educational resources that we have available, you'll get those right in your email. So right now we do have the ongoing, it's a transfer gift raffle. So if you haven't done this yet, you can definitely follow us on one of these handles and you will see the gift raffle there and the information there. You will email me a picture of yourself if you graduated already and you are looking to transfer, and there's information on there on the website that we would, ask you to provide your name, the college you are attending, what is your major, and what degree did you graduate with, and what tribal college or university you did recently graduate with. I know there are still some TCUs out there who are completing graduation right now. Like OLC for one is, I think this week is their graduation. So we wanted to leave this gift raffle open until June 18th at midnight. We'll close it. And we are raffling off a $100 gift card, some earbuds, and some College Fund swag. So make sure you sign up for our newsletter there or follow us on one of those handles. We just wrapped up in May preparing for college transfer as well. So we do offer webinars and educational resources online too, as well for students who are preparing to transfer. Our upcoming event that will be coming in October is National Transfer Week. So definitely stay tuned for that as well. We have, and of course the website will launch this coming fall as well. So thank you all. And I hope everybody follows us, sign up for that newsletter, or you can connect with me too. My email will be after this slide here. At this time, we'll take questions. And then here is our contact information, Deborah. If you want to keep an eye on the chat, if anybody has any questions, anybody on the call right now, please take a picture of myself and Deborah's email information and connect with us after this if you have any more questions for us.
And I just wanted to remind everyone there is a $15 gift card to participate in the transfer student survey. So we're really excited to promote this survey widely. If you are or know of transfer in or transfer out students, somebody who's newly transferred in, maybe first time as a transfer, or those who've transferred and completed their degrees, anywhere along that path, we're interested in hearing from you and from those students. So please do consider participating in that. And as Nicolette said, we're available for questions or comments or concerns that you're encountering in transfer. Anything, please go ahead and type in the chat or let us know what's on your mind. Many of you have probably been a transfer student in the past. You might have had successes or challenges in that process. I know me personally, transferring among many colleges and universities, I did indeed lose credits and would have liked to have avoided that. Is there something personally in your lessons learned or anything you would want us to know at the College Fund that we can make sure we're thinking about as we're supporting the transfer process? So questions, suggestions, concerns, personal experiences.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like we don't have any questions, and I think we did really good on time. Um, and so we'll just hang out here for a few more minutes. And if you have any questions, you can still put them in the chat. If not, you have our emails, we hope.
And thank you for joining the session, joining the conversation, and talking transfer.
Awesome. Well, I think it was a very good session, and we'll have an afternoon session as well, Deborah. So cool. I'm just reading the chats. I didn't get a chance to read the chats because I'm screen sharing.
Oh, is our time up? I don't see the time clock up in the top again.
I think we are done in 4 minutes. So we have
Oh,
4 more minutes.
looks like there's still 8 individuals. So anybody, please let us know what's on your mind.
Put in the chat where you're from, what school you're attending. Say hi to us. But yeah, I think it went really great. With that many slides, you always sometimes think that you're going to get too far ahead and not be able to go through each slide. But I think we did really awesome at the slides. Even there, it seems like a lot in the beginning, and then it just you go through them so quick, and you're just like, oh, that went fast.
Yeah. Well, if you're happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, definitely.
So it looks like there's still 8 viewing and we're recording. Is that accurate?
Yes. There is still a
And thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we have a few more minutes. I believe the session closes at 11:55, and then it's lunch. Then we'll come back again and do the afternoon session again. So thank you all for joining us. If you're still on the call, we appreciate you. We hope everybody took some time to let all of that process in. But not only that, make sure you also complete our post survey. So you will be getting a post survey from us at the end of the virtual conference. So that is also important to make sure you're filling out that post survey. So that helps us learn more about how we all did as presenters and the virtual conference in general. So I always encourage people to be very, very honest. And that helps us to create conferences in the future that are more tailored to our feedback that we are receiving as well. So yeah, we have 1 more minute. I'm very hungry after we were talking about all that food. My stomach is telling me that I am hungry.
Yeah, that's probably what's next on most people's agendas, depending
Yeah,
on where they are in the world.
yeah,
And
for
yeah,
sure.
then turning back to our conference in the afternoon.
Yes. What is everybody having for lunch?
That's a good question.
I have some basmati rice that I made last night with some chicken, like curry chicken. That is what I'm having for lunch.
Sounds excellent. I've been wanting to make some homemade curry too, so maybe you've inspired me.
Yeah, for sure. It's so good. I've never grew curry or the Indian cuisine, and the minute I tried it, I was like, oh, this is so amazing.
Yeah, I like Indian food and Thai food and Japanese food, all the wonderful foods.
Yes. Yes, for sure. All right. Well, that is our time. We thank you all for joining us. We hope you have a really good a lunch and come back for the afternoon sessions. We do have afternoon sessions coming up. So if you missed some morning sessions you wanted to check out, definitely come back this afternoon so you can check those out. They will be going again.
Thank you all.
Thank you.